Good morning. It's Thursday, November 16th, and I'm going to talk today about the failings of the Democratic Party. We all know that Donald Trump in July of 2020 started ranting and raving about election fraud, and he continued that. He continued that all the way through his election loss. And then on January 6th, we know what happened. We had an attempted coup. But this is what has happened to our country. The Republicans have taken a course of action that I can only call voter subversion. They are trying to change all the laws. They are doing tremendous amount of analysis on every aspect of what went wrong in their minds in the 2020 election. And the result of that has been this voting subversion. And the voting subversion has gotten so bad that in July of this year, President Biden actually made a speech and addressed the problem. And he said this problem of voter subversion is the most dangerous thing that has happened to this country since the Civil War. And he admits it. He focuses on it. He tells us about it, but the Democrats have failed to do anything. They are failing this country. They have not risen to the occasion and fought against this voter subversion in any way, shape, or form that I can see. The public is not aware of anything that the Democrats are doing. So if they are doing something, it's an unknown, and it's a terrible thing. Now, I recognize the fact that we have blue states and red states, but I would think that every state that attempts to subvert their voting population, no matter if it's a red state or a blue state, deserves to be attacked on some front. I don't know how to do it, but it's a failing. It's a failing in the Democratic Party because most of the subversion is taking place in the red states, where they are calculating how to maintain a vote that will ensure the re-election of their candidates. And the Democrats are sitting by the sidelines and fighting, trying to get their big bills passed, which they have gotten, but not at the size that they want. But their big bills won't matter if they lose control of the country. If you have been paying attention to what's been going on in this country, you will see that the Republicans have started a sophisticated attack by taking control of the way voting is taking place, by taking control of the business of voting. Yes, I will call it a business. And they are claiming because there was fraud, voter fraud, excessive fraud. In fact, there were major lawsuits involving Dominion voting machines, in which Newsmax and others were claiming that Dominion voting machines were faulty and caused millions of votes to be recast improperly. And of course, Dominion is asking for billions of dollars from these people for slandering their voting machines. But the Republicans have taken a much more subtle approach to this thing in the way that they are trying to change laws and voting times, etc. So when I look at the big picture, I don't know if the Democrats are equipped to fight back against voter subversion, or if they just don't believe it can happen in this country. They have their head in the sand. They are not talking about it. They are not openly contesting and bringing this terrible thing to light. No Democrat that I know of is raising the roof about voter subversion. Biden made his statement in July, and since then, nothing. If you remember what happened on Election Day, and from Election Day to January 6th, President Trump refused to concede. He kept on challenging the results of the election. And nobody knew what to do because nobody had ever done what he did before. And he continues on his rampage of fraud, election fraud. And nobody knows what to do about it. It's time somebody stepped to the plate and said, he's dead wrong. Even though nobody was able to find any significant fraud. 60 cases went to the courts and lost. But we don't know what to do. We haven't got an answer. And the we I'm talking about is not the people. It's the Democrats. They don't have an answer. They don't know how to fight. They don't know how to get down in the dirt and do what has to be done. They haven't got a clue about how to defend against voter subversion. Even though they may be minorities in those states, they still ought to be able to mount a national campaign against voter subversion. And if they haven't figured it out, by the end of 2022, the hands of Congress and the Senate will probably belong to the Republicans again. And you know who's to blame for this whole thing? Joe Biden, because he made this speech in July, and he hasn't done a thing about it. It's okay to say we're in the midst of a terrible situation, and we have the worst situation in voting since the Civil War. But what has he done since then? He hasn't put together a committee. He hasn't gotten a group of people together to fight the voter subversion battle. He's made this speech, and a lot of people believe it, and I believe it. He's right. He's right. That is the greatest problem that we have in this country. But we haven't done anything about it. He's worried about spending money and getting all of these other things, and these people are ignoring these people, the progressives, the people who want to move this country forward, are ignoring the fact that there is a faction in this country that is trying to keep this country backward, moving in the wrong direction. And Joe has failed in that regard. He has not completed his mission. That should be his number one thing, maintaining his chances of changing this country for the better. So I don't know what to tell you, because I don't have an answer. I just look at this thing and I say, we are going downhill fast, and we need to rally and stop this voter subversion. And it may be too late to stop it right. There should be a huge outcry, but there isn't. And many who live in those states are happy with what's going on there. This is not something that the people of those states are against. They're loving it. They don't want anybody interfering with their way of. They don't want the people in their states that are suppressed and subverted to come to the front, because they believe in small government and they believe in a lot of other things. And I don't have any more time to rant today, so I'll see you in the morning. Bye.